When you look at what we saw from Lamar yesterday, can he succeed as a quarterback if he is running that much?
I don't think so. Definitely not 27 rushes in a game.
Yeah.
And 3 of them was kneel down, so initially it was 24. But I think for Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, they did it just enough to win that game. And for whatever it was required to win the game, they did it. I thought the game plan was centered around a bevy of runs, run-pass options, didn't pass the ball that much. And when he did, he was somewhat accurate at times, and sometimes he wasn't.
Yep.
But this is what they have to do right now. Come next season in spring, if it comes to it, he'll get most of the reps in OTAs and training camp, and he'll be a much polished passer. But for the duration of your career and longevity, you cannot run the ball 27 times in a game. I think the most I've ran was 12 to 15 in the game. So in the 2-game span, I couldn't even match that.
Yeah.
And the thing is just being efficient with it, protecting yourself, because the key to playing in the NFL long-term is being accountable on the field. So 24 rushes won't suffice. Narrow that down to about 12 to 13 and make them efficient runs and just run instinctively. And hopefully they aren't always design runs.
Wait, by the way, did you sleep before your first start in Atlanta? Do you remember? Can you remember
you know what? I don't think I did.
Yep.
I was in the same situation that Lamar was in as far as the butterflies and wanting to know what it was going to be like. And Lamar and I talked about that a lot last year.
Did you?
Prior to coming out, just him, what the game would be like, what it would feel like. Didn't know it would end up like that, as far as 27 rushes. But nevertheless, it was a good win and a good start for him.
It was.
He have to be pleased with this performance.
How much do you think running as much as you did early hurt you on the back end of your career? Do you think you could have got
it hurt a lot. I think it hurt to a point where my body couldn't sustain at the end, where mentally I could do it. And, as players, we never think we're going to go through that phase where you'll start to feel like, look, the game is starting to take a toll on me. And year 12, 13, I was like, man, you know what? I wish I would have cut back on some of those rushes that I had early in my career, because sometimes I just went hard at it. And, it's cool when you're in your 4th, 5th, 6th year and your body can sustain it. But as you get older, the father time will catch up with you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Skip. We was watching that video of Mike. Yeah, I don't think Lamar could outrun Mike.
You don't?
No.
Bring that up.
Wait,
we got to no.
What do you think?
I mean, you're going to hear it straight from me. No, I don't think there's been a quarterback in the National Football League that can outrun me, hands down.
Because I was watching yesterday, and I watched all the Michael Vick experience in Atlanta, and it was an experience. But to my eye, he looks a tick faster, straight line with the ball under his arm. Straight line when he hits a crease and hits top speed like boom.
Yeah, see, I was more of a shifty,
side
very
side.
Sanders type.
Dude, how you split the seam? You just split the seam in the overtime against the Vikes.
But that was the only time I didn't get caught. And that was because I was running at an angle. Right. So straight line speed, Skip is right. I always got walked down. Always got caught.
You run so fast, you be stumbling. You
start
stumbling.
I don't know. I think one of my legs is longer or shorter than the other. Something.
Now, open field make you miss? Never. I mean, you're in Barry Sanders' category, and I would put nobody except Michael Vick in that category where you are unstoppable if you get somebody.
Between the hashes.
Yeah. One defender in the open field, no shot, no way.
I agree with you, Mike. I just don't think, his body cannot suffice. You don't want running backs really carrying the ball 27 times a game over the duration. And he's not built like that, Skip. I mean, you think he's 210, 215? Yeah. He's probably 215 now. Probably went to camp at about 220. But once you start...
He's got lean strength to him. Though.
Yeah, but Skip,
he's got a smaller frame.
Yeah.
Similar to when I met RG3 for the first time.
I agree.
His frame, and I felt like, he's really going to have to lift weights and bulk up and make sure that he's prepared to take the pounding, because I knew what type of game he was going to play. Okay. Same message I'll send to Lamar over the next couple of weeks, man. If you're going to play this type of game, you got to bulk up and you got to be ready for it.
Okay. But Lamar was born with that self-preservation gene that RG3 definitely never had, that you had some of but not enough of early, because you just thought, man, I can do this.
Right.
And you wanted to run through walls to get your team the win. And if you had to, you would take somebody on.
For sure.
And you paid for it in Philadelphia because it was your body's starting to wear out where it just can't take any more punishment. But this kid, even at Louisville, he would protect himself beautifully. Like he'll slide, or he will avoid in ways like Robert. Robert couldn't even slide, and I don't know why. They tried. They even brought in some of the Washington Nationals to try to teach him to slide.
Right.
He just couldn't figure out how to.
Pendleton one year.
I know, yeah, but you just got to put one foot in front of the other and just get down.
But the thing is, Skip, when you run so fast, Skip, it's hard to slide. You trying to slide, and the next thing you know, you rolling over like a ball.
Shannon, it don't matter. You got to learn to slide in the National Football League, and I didn't learn to be cognizant about it until later on in my career. Early, it was just like just go and get the yards however you can get it, but the one thing I can say about this situation and the positive that we can take away from it is Marty Mornhinweg will continue to help him grow in the passing game. Find that balance is what Lamar has to do, and then he'll be a much better quarterback, and all the running will probably settle down.
What do you see in him as a thrower?
I think he needs work.
Yeah.
I think he needs a lot of work. I was thinking about this early this morning and just the comparisons to a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in this rookie season where he was very efficient in the passing game, and he looked polished coming out of Clemson. I thought he did a great job at Louisville. It was a lot of intermediate routes, a lot of crossing routes, but in the NFL, you have to be very diverse throwing the football all across the field. So it's a lot of work that he needs to do. Hopefully we can get some practice in, we can get some workout in.
Right. Are you going to go help
in the offseason for sure? Yeah.
Because it looks a little awkward, the delivery, but the ball comes out with some velocity, and when he gets in a rhythm, he can be a decent passer in this league.
It's going to take work for him,
right?
Because you have to stretch the field. You can't win games just running a ton of different formations and
intermediate routes, thinking and dunking the ball.
Intermediate routes. You have to open it up, and the game plan has to somewhat become complex.
So even if Joe Flacco comes back healthy, you stick with Lamar?
I say you go back to Joe Flacco. Lamar got some experience. Hopefully he can win another game. We'll see him maybe 2 or 3 games. And then you go back to Joe Flacco, let him finish it out, see what the outcome is.
Joe, I don't think, and Skip and I think we're in agreement on this, Skip. I don't think Joe's going to be there. So I think you need
for the long
term. I don't think Joe will be there next year.
Yeah,
and I think Lamar's going to be the guy, and so you need to get him as much playing time and experience as you possibly can.
Yeah, depending on how Joe finishes out the season, that'll determine if he'll be there or not. If not, the people within this organization has to be looking forward to the spring, getting Lamar ready and getting him ready to go for the 2019 season.
So here's my issue with Joe Flacco. He has extraordinary postseason numbers. They're just like all-time. 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 10 wins to only 5 losses, a Super Bowl championship. Off that, he became the highest-paid player in pro football. And in those 6 years since that Super Bowl, they have missed the playoffs 5 or 6 times. He's the classic postseason player who can't get it done regularly in the regular season, right?
Yeah, and you can't get to the postseason if you can't play in the regular season. So, obviously there's an issue. I've always been a Joe Flacco fan, but I just feel like, week 6, 7, 8 of every season, it's always just a dive that they take, and then they got to dig themselves out of a hole late in the season. And, after a while, we get tired of looking at that when we know what the game is supposed to look like. And look, I'm an advocate of his. I just don't know
where I thought if they would start Lamar from the start this year, that team with that defense would rally around him and be ignited, be inspired by his playmaking. It's not the greatest throwing playmaking, but that he could make enough plays. He's poised. He doesn't crumble. He doesn't come apart under fire. And that was a big fire he got thrown into yesterday. And the best thing about him yesterday was he kept his comfort zone the whole game. He stayed within himself. I didn't see him try to do crazy things, running or passing.
That was big. And even for Lamar, I think, when you take into account his rushing ability and then the way he'll be able to pass at some point, this guy will be able to control the clock and help the defense out, keep them off the field, keep them fresh, ready to go. So when they go out, they can get after the quarterback and they can make the plays, get 3 and outs. So it's a lot of great things that came out of this situation.
That's why I keep
bunch of positives.
That's why I keep him in the ball game, because nothing prepares you to play in games like playing in the game.
Absolute experience.
Look, I'm not saying he is Hall of Fame bound. I'm just saying he can be a pretty good quarterback.
Okay, it's a good start.
Yeah.